I recently watched every single Thanksgiving movie ever made, and the Marks demanded that I take my next challenge and watch every single Silent Night, Deadly Night movie ever made. I've seen part 1 about 100 times, and I've seen part 2 about 1,000 times. I just love that stupid movie. And I've never seen the others, and from what I'm told, each sequel is more crazier than the last. So for the next 6 days, I'm challenging myself once again, and I'm gonna watch every single Silent Night, Deadly Night movie ever made. And as usual, I gotta watch something a little more appropriate. It's a Santa suit. I found this one in the trash. Also, shout out to the 2 different Marks who gifted me not 1, but 2 VHS copies of Jingle All the Way. I don't know what I'm going to do with these. Silent Night, Deadly Night, starring Robert Brian Wilson. Written by Michael Hickey and directed by Charles E. Seller Jr. So we start the movie with Christmas Eve on 1971. A little boy named Billy is in the car with his mom, his dad, and his little brother Ricky. Keep Ricky in mind for later. And they're on their way to visit their grandpa at the Utah mental facility. That's not that very creative of a name, Utah. And the grandpa is like really catatonic. Like he doesn't talk, he doesn't speak, he doesn't even move. The mom, dad, and little baby Ricky, they just fuck off. And they leave Billy all alone with the grandpa. So with nobody around, grandpa just springs to life. And like a fucking madman, he just starts cutting promos on how much he hates Christmas.
Christmas Eve is the scariest damn night of the year.
And then grandpa tells Billy that Santa only rewards kids that's been good all year round.
All the other ones, all the naughty ones, he punishes.
Needless to say, Billy is completely freaked out. And then parents return, and then Grandpa resorts back to his catatonic Toy Story state. Billy returns to his grandpa, and he promises he's going to be good.
I'll be good from now on, I promise.
Meanwhile, in another area, this dude dressed up as Santa Claus just holds up this corner store with his gun. Santa just unloads an entire clip into the clerk. And my favorite part is the clerk just jumps into a big pile of chips. So we cut back to the family, and they're driving away from the Utah mental facility. And they've been listening to this Christmas song that's going to be played throughout the entire fucking movie.
Santa's watching, Santa's waiting, Christmas Eve is slowly fading.
So on their drive back, they see a Santa with a broken down car on the side of the road, and they decide that's the time to help. And Billy is just terrified, and rightfully so, because Santa pulls out a gun, and the dad just backs up and gets the hell out of there. Santa shoots at the car, and the car just spins out. Billy gets the fuck out of there. He runs across the road and hides behind some bushes. And then Santa just murders the dad. Santa grabs the mom, pulls her out, and he just starts... Yep. He rips open her blouse, shows her boobies, and he slits her throat. Billy's on the side of the road watching this entire thing. Little baby Ricky is still in the car crying, and then Santa just fucks off and leaves. Then we cut to 3 years later in 1974. Billy and Ricky are now at St. Mary's Home for Orphan Children. And Billy, played by a different kid, now has a mullet. He's just drawing these like really horrific Christmas drawings. Billy gets in trouble and he has to go to Mother Superior's office. And she doesn't know like all the stuff that happened to him, but she just dismisses him and tells him to go away. And then Sister Margaret tells Mother Superior, hey, Billy is a fucked up kid. Maybe we should take a little bit of more care on him. And the Mother Superior's like, yeah, fuck it. And then Billy is walking down the hallway and he sticks his eye through a little keyhole and he sees these 2 people doing this like softcore like caressing with like really bizarre close-ups. Then Mother Superior catches him and she grabs Billy and tells him to go away. She busts into the door where the 2 people are having sex. She grabs a belt and just immediately just starts beating the shit out of them.
Devil!
Mother Superior runs outside to yell at Billy some more.
Billy, what's wrong? Your brother's a MacKaye, that's what's wrong. No, he's not! Take it back!
Keep Ricky in mind, he will show up later in the series.
Garbage day!
Mother Superior gives Billy this typical Catholic guilt trip.
But when we do something naughty, we are always caught. And then we are punished.
Then it cuts to her spanking Billy. Billy is having nightmares of his parents being killed still. So Mother Superior shows up and then just starts tying him to the bed. What the fuck? Anybody out there who's Catholic or who grew up in an orphanage? Did this ever happen to you? So Mother Superior comes up with the idea that she's gonna confront Billy's fears and make him sit on Santa's lap. Sounds perfect? I don't think anything bad's gonna happen. So Billy just immediately just punches Santa in the face and just takes off.
I didn't mean to be naughty. Don't Punish me.
Mother Superior comes in, and then we freeze frame on Billy just fucking terrified. But we do a time jump to spring of 1984. And Billy's now like this handsome young man. So it turns out Sister Margaret got Billy a job as a stock boy at this toy store. And we get this amazing montage of Billy adjusting to normal everyday working life. And I kind of wanted this scene to be a little longer just so I could look at all the old toys. So we pick up the vibe that he's kind of like Ned Flanger's kids. He's just this straight-laced kid who just drinks a lot of milk. Oh, and there's 2 false endings to this montage with like this big epic choir.
Of the door.
But anyway, Billy's also falling for this chick. Billy's coworker, Danny, he just starts yelling at Billy because he's like, dude, it's Christmas and you suck. And then Billy's just like, dude, there's this store Santa and he's kind of freaking me out. Billy's just keeps having flashbacks every time he sees the Santa. So she helps Billy up, and then naturally Billy has this daydream where he's having sex with Pamela. And no joke, he has the most hairiest butthole I have ever seen. Dude must be getting dingleberries all the time. Oh, so fucking gross, his butthole. And there's this random lady that tells the manager, hey, your guys' Santa is just gone. They talk Billy into being Santa for the season, and Billy is just fucking pissed. And it goes about as well as you think.
I don't bring toys to naughty children. I punish them severely.
And then parents just love the way that Billy scares their kids. Great job, manager. It's Christmas Eve, the manager locks up, and he puts on his party hat.
It's over! Time to get shit-faced!
I gotta say, getting drunk at a toy store sounds like a lot of fun. And then Billy brings the mood down at the party by saying this.
Thinking about my parents.
Oh, good. That's fine. That's fine.
They're dead.
Oh.
Billy sees Andy and Pamela making out, and they just go to the back storeroom. So naturally, Billy follows them. And then Billy sees Andy just assaulting Pamela. Andy rips Pamela's shirt off, and he just pushes her down, which causes Billy to have all these like insane flashbacks to his mom. And if you think this movie uses a lot of flashbacks, wait till we get to part 2. So Billy snaps, and he attacks Andy, and he grabs some Christmas lights. He lifts him off the ground, and he just has just anger in his eyes. He's fucking murdering him. It's pretty sweet. Pamela sees what's going on. She calls Billy an insane bastard, and then she just starts attacking him. Billy pulls out a box cutter, and he just stabs her in the stomach and just rips her up to shreds. The manager hears what's going on in the storeroom, so he just drunkenly stumbles in, and then Billy just is there. He just stabs him in the head. The one lady, she comes in the back, she sees the manager dead, and all the extra employees there, they just disappear. The lady just runs, and then Billy pulls out an arrow, and then he kills that lady. Billy clocks out, and he just fucks off and leaves. And then Sister Margaret shows up. She sees all the dead bodies, and then she screams with the nutcrackers. Then we cut to some random suburban house where there's carolers just overacting. But we focus on this house where there's 2 teens having sex. And one of the teens is Linnea Quigley. If you don't know who Linnea Quigley is, if you've ever seen any horror movie ever, she's the one that got naked. And spoiler, she gets naked. But Linnea Quigley is either like the babysitter or the older sister to this little girl. She makes the little girl go to bed.
You don't go back to bed. Santa won't come.
He's not the only one.
Linnea Quigley runs to the door butt-ass naked to let the cat in, but there's no cat. Instead, there's Billy who's pulling a hot Jack Torrance, and he's just using the axe just to break in. And then Billy chases Linnea Quigley through this wooden den, and in my favorite kill, Billy picks up Linnea Quigley, carries her to these antlers, and then just stabs her into it. Boyfriend comes in, Billy attacks him, he rips off his shirt, and then he grabs him and just throws him out of the window. He's dead. Billy grabs an axe, and then he runs into the little girl.
Have you been good? Or have you been naughty?
The little girl says she's been good, so Billy just gives her a bloody box cutter. And if you thought that scene was completely random, well, here's another one. There's these 2 kids who are going sled riding, and then 2 bullies show up, and they just beat the shit out of them, and then the nerds just run away, and the bullies are now in possession of these sleds. So the bully who made the weird noise earlier, he starts pumping his fist, and it's his turn to go down the hill. And then Billy pops out of nowhere, and he just chops the guy's head off. And then his headless corpse, is still sliding down the hill, and he runs into his buddy. And he's just like, wait a minute, was that my buddy? And then here comes his head. Oh, and there's this cops just like roaming through the area looking for this killer Santa Claus. And they're just like busting into random houses without a warrant and just scarring children. Sister Margaret decides she's going to help the police, and she says, hey, Billy's probably on his way to the orphanage right now. Mother Superior is like old as shit, and she's like confined to a wheelchair. And she's still kind of a bitch. She's like mad that these orphan children are getting presents on Christmas. They send a cop to the orphanage, and just as he gets there, he sees Santa coming across the street. The kids are going nuts. Like, Santa is right here. I can't believe it. Even Billy's little brother Ricky is like, Santa! Yeah! The cop gets out of his car and immediately just starts shooting the Santa Claus in front of these fucking orphans. And it turns out that Santa is Father O'Brien, you know, a guy that works there. So what the cop does is he goes inside and he just gets kind of yelled at by Mother Superior. Dude, you just shot a priest. So the cop just goes, fuck him. And the cop just starts patrolling around the orphanage. Cop finds like, I think is a bomb shelter. Anyway, he explores, he comes up, and he gets stabbed in the stomach by Billy. Billy decapitates a snowman, and then this one little orphan just fucks everything up, and he lets Billy in. Mother Superior is like freaking out. She goes, oh fuck, that's Billy.
But Mother Superior, it's Santa Claus.
Mother Superior kills kayfabe, and she says,
There's no Santa Claus.
Billy slow motions, pulls out his axe, immediately gets shot by the police captain who showed up with Sister Margaret, all in front of these orphan children. Sister Margaret goes up to Billy, who's just dying at this point, and he says his last word.
You're safe now. Santa Claus is gone.
And then Billy is dead, and the movie ends with a pan up of Ricky, who's just staring daggers at Mother Superior, and he says his brother Billy's classic line.
Garbage day!
Naughty.
Silent night, deadly night. Now before we continue, I like to introduce you to something I like to call the climb. AEW superstar Kip Sabian is currently sitting at 12K subscribers, whereas I am not. So Kip and I made a deal where if I can surpass him in YouTube subscribers, he will have dinner with me at the Rainforest Cafe. And mark my guys, that's where you come in. 90% of my viewers are not subscribed. So if you're watching this right now and you're not subscribed, please do. So we can climb together and beat Kip Sabian. So him and I can share safari fries at Rainforest Cafe. Put in the comments with I want Mark and Kip to share safari fries. Now, let's get back to the video. Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, starring Eric Friedman, written and directed by Lee Harry. I love this movie so much. I know it's bad, but I watch this every year. I even got my Blu-ray signed by Eric Friedman. So shout out to Eric Friedman. So the movie starts off with a close-up of these grandpa shoes just tapping on the ground. And it's quickly revealed that the guy wearing these grandpa shoes is Ricky, you know, Billy's younger brother. He's smoking, he's looking like a total badass, and he's about to record his podcast. And it turns out Ricky's locked up, and there's like this doctor there with him. Ricky gets mad at the doctor, and he just starts sitting in this chair like the coolest motherfucker. The doctor, he's doing his best to not seem fazed by Ricky's like outbursts and fucking cool attitude. So he's like, who do you think killed your parents?
Santa Claus.
And then we get the retelling of part 1 through Ricky's perspective, who was a baby. I don't know why he would remember everything. And I'll admit, the first like couple of minutes is kind of a drag, and it feels like your time is kind of being wasted.
Am I wasting your valuable time?
But overall, they kind of take the first movie and like compile it to like the first half of this movie with like weird cuts of part 1 and then like Ricky in prison.
She was naughty.
I love Eric Friedman's line deliveries.
I don't sleep.
But to simplify all that, Ricky views Mother Superior as the villain, and he believes that his brother Billy was on like the right path.
Was Billy being naughty?
No. They were naughty.
We get the Linnea Quigley booby scene again. We get the sled riding decapitation scene again.
Really? Well, maybe we're just jerking off here then.
I'm not. Skip ahead to the 40-minute mark of this movie. We finally get the end of the recap of the first movie.
Naughty.
And I know what you're thinking. What happened to Ricky between the end of the first movie and right now? Well, guess what? Ricky's gonna tell us. Ricky moved in with a new family. And Ricky's kind of like vaguely anti-Semitic.
The Rosenbergs. They definitely did not get involved with Christmas.
A couple years after adopting Ricky, the adopted dad dies. Apparently that guy's death like really broke Ricky.
That hit me pretty hard.
He's just like strolling through this park and he comes across this couple who are having a picnic and Ricky like creepily watches them from the bushes while this guy just like assaults this woman. And then Ricky has a flashback to when that happened to his mom. You know, that time that happened when he was a baby. And Ricky does not like this at all.
Naughty.
So the guy goes to get a beer and then Ricky just pops up in the guy's Jeep and Ricky just runs him over. And then the woman just like looks up and watches as Ricky's in the Jeep and he's just going back and forth riding over the dude. The girl catches up with Ricky and she's just like, thank you for killing him. And then she just fucks off and leaves. And the doctor takes these like horrible notes where he highlights red car.
Red car. Good point.
And then Ricky tells the doctor that he got a job just loading up dumpsters. So Ricky's in this back alley and he comes across this confrontation with this dude named Rocco and then like this other just bum. And Rocco just pummels the shit out of the bum. He pulls out this hanky and just like wipes his face and he bumps right into Ricky. And then Ricky just fucking launches Rocco into a pile of boxes. Garbage Day is a very dangerous holiday. So Ricky hoists him up, holds him up against the wall, pulls out an umbrella and just fucking stabs Rocco with the umbrella. And the best part is the umbrella just opens up and then it starts raining while the umbrella's still popped open in this dude's corpse. This is fucking amazing, dude. The doctor is freaked out because those two murders are not in Ricky's records at all. And the doctor pulls out the headshot of this very beautiful woman. And he's like, hey, what can you tell me about her? So like the cool motherfucker Ricky is, he's seen on a motorcycle in a leather jacket. A car backs up into him and Ricky falls down and he has this look on his face like, ugh, I'm mad. Person who hits Ricky gets out of the car. Ricky sees that these are legs from a beautiful woman. And then he goes like, ugh. Ooh. And it turns out that the woman who hit him was the woman in that photograph from like 2 seconds ago. And the woman's name is Jennifer. So Ricky and Jennifer now have like this beautiful life where they just ride around on motorcycles. And there's another like softcore scene where Ricky and Jennifer are like having sex. Although Ricky does not have a hairy butthole like his brother. We also find out that Ricky's a virgin and this is his first time.
That was my first time. I thought it was Jennifer's too.
Then we cut to Ricky and Jennifer at like a really crappy movie theater. There's this like super annoying dickhead in the back of the theater just throwing popcorn and just yelling obnoxious shit.
Let's go! Start the movie!
Ricky just keeps like staring at the guy like, hey, knock it off. And then if you're wondering what movie they're watching, Jennifer will tell you right now.
Oh, it's great. It's about this guy who dresses up like Santa Claus and kills people.
What? I'm holding you up, asshole.
So yeah, they're watching Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 1. You know, the movie that literally just spent the first 40 minutes of Part 2 describing.
This movie's so bogus.
I fucking love this movie. Ricky yells punish and he gets up and he just fucks off. Meanwhile, Jennifer's really blonde ex-boyfriend just plays peekaboo with her.
Chip. Yuck.
Of course this dude, his name is Chip. Look at his mullet. So Ricky is in the back of the theater with the dickhead.
Naughty.
And Ricky just kills this dude in the most cartoonish way. Chip decides that he has to bleach his sideburns, so he disappears. Ricky returns.
I'm beginning to like this picture.
And then my favorite sequence of this movie takes place right now. This is the highlight we've all been waiting for. Ricky and Jennifer are walking hand in hand through this suburban neighborhood. They come across Chip, who is working on a car. Chip grabs Jennifer's arm and he reminds her of all the sexy times they've had. Ricky does his I'm mad guy tough face again.
That's enough. That's what she said when I fucked her brains out. Backseat of old Red here.
He grabs him by the throat, chokeslams him into the engine. He takes the jumper cable and sticks it either into Chip's tongue or teeth, and he just electrocutes the fuck out of him. Chip's eyes explode even through the sunglasses. Oh, by the way, he just randomly started wearing sunglasses. Jennifer gets pissed at Ricky and said he's crazy and she doesn't want to deal with him. Ricky also gets pissed and he just yells, "Punish!"
Uh-oh.
And Jennifer's reaction is as if she just spilt her coffee on the ground.
Uh-oh.
Ricky just starts strangling her. A cop just randomly shows up. He points his gun at Ricky and he says like, "Freeze!" The cop gets like super close to Ricky. Ricky wrestles the gun away from the cop and shoots the cop in the head. And then Ricky takes the cop's gun and he has the best laugh. Ricky now goes on a shooting spree. There's this like football fan who just comes out. He gets shot. And then we get to the part where I'm sure everybody has seen. Dude is taking out his trash can. Ricky shows up.
Garbage day! Huh? No!
He does this like cool pistol spin. There's a red car speeding down the street. Ricky just starts firing at it. The car just flips on its side, narrowly missing Ricky. And the car just tumbles down the street and just explodes. Like a badass, Ricky is walking away from this explosion. Ricky walks into like a police barricade. Cops come out. And Ricky does another great laugh. The cops come out, they point their gun at Ricky, and they're like, "We got you! Stand down!" He puts the gun to his head. The cops, who are literally seconds away from shooting this guy, and they just start shouting out generic phrases to get him to stop.
No! It's not worth it! Don't be a fool! Don't do it! Don't kill yourself!
But when Ricky goes to pull the trigger, he's just out of bullets.
No more bullets.
At some point, he just killed the doctor, and somehow Ricky makes it out of prison. Mother Superior lives by herself. She's in a wheelchair, she had a stroke, and then like something happened to her face where it's all just fucked up. So he's now dressed as Santa, he's in a phone booth, and he just calls her and starts threatening her.
Santa's back!
And Ricky shows up at her house, and this nun's address is literally 666. What the fuck? But Ricky busts the door open. She's trying to get away the best she can. So Ricky just axes the door. And rather than saying, "Here's Johnny," he says,
Oh, there you are!
She's saying Ricky needs to be punished just like his brother Billy. Ricky hoists his axe up and says,
"Naughty this!"
And he kills Mother Superior. Cops just show up at her house. They find Mother Superior in her wheelchair, just apparently decapitated. I guess you can say she's the head nun. Oh, come on, that was funny. She got her head cut off and she's a nun. Ricky's gonna attack this cop with his axe, and then the cop just shoots him 3 times, and then Ricky, like Michael Myers, just busts through the window out to the outside. And the movie ends with Ricky laying on the ground and his eyes open, meaning he's gonna be in part 3. Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 2, Garbage Day. Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out, starring Bill Moseley, written by Carlos Laszlo, and directed by Monty Hellman. So the movie starts off, we're in a white room, and this girl named Laura, she wakes up to somebody just calling her name. She stumbles around, and also in that room is a hospital bed with this dude just kind of like laying there. That's Bill Moseley. And he wakes up, and he has his like brain exposed, so he kind of looks like Mojo Jojo from Powerpuff Girls. He pulls out a scalpel, and then Laura just fucking takes off. And she busts into this room where Santa is sitting on his throne. And Laura is no longer scared. She immediately just sits on Santa's lap. And like you do when you meet Santa, you tell him what you want for Christmas.
I want a Barbie doll.
And
a bicycle.
And
roller skates.
And
ballet shoes.
And
a Mickey Mouse watch.
Instead of a Barbie doll, how about you get a bloody fucking knife to the throat? And selfish Laura finally wakes up, and it turns out she was having this insane dream. So this doctor sticks his flashlight into Laura's eyes, and then it's revealed she's blind, because otherwise that would be like a really dick move. And the doctor gets like really excited that she tells him that she found Santa Claus in her dream.
I think she made contact.
Dude, if you really wanted to contact Santa, you wouldn't do it through Laura's dreams. Instead, you can just write him a letter to the North Pole. Oh, and it's also revealed that Bill Moseley, the guy with the exposed brain that kind of looks like Mojo Jojo, that's Ricky from part 2. You know,
Garbage Day!
As much as I love Bill Moseley, I kind of wish they would have brought Eric Freeman back for that. And it's also revealed that Laura and Ricky are like telepathically connected. And since they're connected, Laura can also see Ricky's memories, which leads to us having some more flashbacks of the first movie. The doctor, he also like really wants to sniff Laura's head. Laura gets pissed at the doctor because she's like, "I do not want to be a science experiment for you."
Her body may be young, but her soul is old.
You're sniffing her head, and you say that? This doctor's a little creepy.
She'll be back. And then she'll let me go as deep as I want.
She can't resist it. She wants to penetrate his mind.
So he wants Laura and Ricky to have sex telepathically? So Laura goes up to the receptionist and she's like, hey, can you tell me when my brother's here? The receptionist is a total fucking bitch. And she's like,
I'm very busy, miss.
lady, I'm blind. So we meet her super 80s brother, Chris, who has this glorious mane of hair. And then they get into the car and they just start telling each other these weird ass jokes.
Do you know how P Brain gets his belt off?
How?
So we cut to the Santa Claus who's at the hospital and he's a complete pervert.
My candy cane, little girl.
But because he's a Santa in a horror movie, not only is he a pervert, but he's also a drunk. And then the Santa just starts roasting Ricky.
Hey, vegetable. Who's your favorite singer? Perry Coma?
Dude, he's in a coma. Clearly Santa is the first victim. Ricky wakes up and Santa has this like really crappy dialogue.
Oh, hey, Ricky, you know about the broccoli, I was just kidding.
And of course, right before he gets killed, he does the classic, no! I don't know why I made him sound like Ray Romano. So Ricky escapes. I think Ricky should have taken the Santa outfit, but what the fuck do I know? I directed side quest. Laura is with her psychiatrist and they're talking about EMP, and she's having these weird visions where she's seeing people just slaughtered. And it turns out her visions are pretty legit, because the next thing we see is Ricky just slicing the throat of the receptionist. Chris tries to introduce his girlfriend to Laura, but Laura is just not having it.
Chris tells me you're psychic. Chris tells me you give great head.
And it's also kind of weird because Chris's girlfriend looks exactly like Laura. But anyway, the three of them get into the car and they take off to their grandma's house. Meanwhile, Ricky escapes from the hospital. And Ricky can like telepathically like know where they're going.
Forget the map. Take the 101 to Moore Park.
Laura's in the car, she falls asleep and has flashbacks of the first movie. And then my favorite shot in the movie is seeing Ricky hitchhiking. Ricky gets picked up by this truck driver. Ricky just kills the truck driver, steals his truck, and then takes off. And then we get this 20-second shot of Laura just drinking a water bottle. There's this like gas station attendant coming up. He gets killed by Ricky off screen. But the best part is his girlfriend is still on the phone trying to have phone sex.
I want to talk dirty to you.
He may not be good at having phone sex, but he's good at giving head. Somehow Ricky beats the kids to grandma's house. But it's revealed that the grandma is psychic, so I don't know why she didn't see Ricky beating the kids there.
Phone's gonna ring?
And this grandma is like super sweet. She's feeding Ricky. She even gives Ricky a present. But Ricky doesn't take too kindly to Christmas presents. So Ricky just snaps and he kills a screaming granny off screen. So the kids arrive at Grandma's house. Grandma is nowhere to be found. So this is a perfect opportunity for Chris and his girlfriend to just start making out. You guys don't make out at your grandma's house? And Laura's blind, not deaf, so she can hear them. To be honest, nothing really happens for quite some time. Except for the moment where Chris and his girlfriend are bathing in the tub and we do get a boobie. And we watched Laura listening to the TV for a solid minute. But anyway, the doctor from earlier is teaming up with the cop, and they're just trying to find Ricky. To be honest, I don't remember much that happened during the scene. All I remember is they changed Ricky's name from Ricky Chapman to Ricky Caldwell.
Richard Caldwell. Wait a minute, Ricky Caldwell?
So anyway, they're driving off to find Ricky. So they find the body of the gas station attendant, and the cop's just like, I'm going to fucking kill Ricky. The doctor is pissed because he still wants to use Ricky for science experiments.
Ricky isn't a killer. He's a way to stop people from killing. Like snake venom is a way to cure the bite.
So they pull over to the side of the road, the cop gets out to take a piss, and then the doctor just fucking takes off and steals his car. The kids are like, hey, shouldn't Grandma be here by now? And then Chris and the girlfriend find out that somebody fucked with their car. And then Ricky just busts through the door and grabs Laura. And then Chris stabs Ricky in the arm. And then I find out that that wasn't Laura that he grabbed, it was Chris's girlfriend. I told you, they look exactly alike. He coddles his girlfriend and they just act like nothing happened.
He almost killed her.
Not her he's after.
So like Charles Bronson, Chris finds his grandpa's shotgun and he's gonna take care of business.
It's Granddad's old greener.
I'm not a gun guy. I have no idea what a greener is. And then he immediately gets attacked by Ricky. Ricky grabs the greener and he just like throws it away because killing people with a gun is kind of uninteresting in horror movies. Ricky chokes Chris to the ground and he just stabs him with a knife. Girls see it, they run away. Well, one of them sees it. Doctor arrives at Grandma's house and he sees Ricky. He's like, Ricky! Ricky holds hands with the doctor and then Ricky just stabs the doctor. The girls just start barricading the door. So luckily, the door is barricaded and safe and nobody can get in except for Ricky just busts through the back. The girls take off upstairs looking for another gun. Chris's girlfriend leaves Laura alone and somehow Ricky beat them up there and he just pulled her under the bed. Anyway, she's thrown on the bed and I think she got stabbed, but Laura just feels Chris's girlfriend's dead body. Laura feels Ricky's face and she does not like it. So Laura takes off into the basement and she starts having a telepathic conversation with her dead grandma. So the grandma tells Laura to use the force.
I don't know what to do, Granny. Please help me.
Use your power, child.
So Laura just starts swatting out the lights. Ricky is coming down the stairs. So now that both of them can't see, Ricky decides, I don't need my knife, and he just abandons it. Ricky then wrestles Laura to the ground, but luckily she's saved by Chris coming in with the last minute. Chris shoots Ricky. Ricky no-sells it. He stands back up. Ricky grabs the shotgun from Chris and he chokes Chris out with it. Ricky then returns his pursuit to Laura, pulls out like a steak knife, and then Ricky just falls over on top of Laura and she stabs him. So somehow the lieutenant cop guy who got abandoned, he shows up at the house. There's paramedics, they're loading. They don't say it's Chris, they don't say it's Ricky, they just said a living body. So I'm thinking Ricky's going to return in part 4. Probably part 5, and the lieutenant comes across the doctor's dead body, but the doctor's still alive, and he gives the lieutenant one last message before he dies.
Don't be stupid.
So the movie ends with Laura smiling in the cruiser with the lieutenant. So Laura and Ghost Ricky, who's wearing a suit now, turn to the camera, and they wish us all a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And a Happy New Year.
Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, better watch out. Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, The Initiation, starring Clint Howard. Fuck yeah, Clint Howard. Written by Woody Key, directed by Brian Yuzna, and special effects by Screaming Mad George. Oh dude, this movie's gonna be so nasty. So the movie starts off with Clint Howard finding an abandoned half-eaten hamburger on the side of the street.
Fucking A, burger.
And while Clint Howard is chowing down at his street meat, he's distracted by this woman who just bursts into flames and jumps off of this building. And then we cut to a news report reporting on the woman who just burst into flames. And then there's two people who have it on in the background while they're boning. Turns out that the lady is Kim and she's like a journalist. And the dude, his name is Hank. He wears this leather jacket. We find out that both of them are co-workers at a newspaper. So Kim really wants to be a journalist. And then she watches the TV where they show this like graphic footage of this burnt woman. Reggie Bannister from Phantasm is in this movie. And he's like kind of a dick. But all the dudes are like really dismissive of Kim because she's a woman. Kim pitches the idea that she should do the story about the burnt woman to Reggie Bannister, but Reggie Bannister says like, no, we're gonna give it to Hank because he has a leather jacket.
Could you make some fresh coffee, please? Thanks.
So Kim is upset. She talks to her friend Janice, and while watching this, I realized that Janice sounded familiar, and I found out she's Mrs. Grokey from Recess. Anyway, Janice gives Kim some notes about the woman who died. Kim starts investigating the area, and on the ground there's like a half-burnt chalk outline of the woman. And she talks to this butcher, and the butcher just like karate chops vending machines. She goes to this bookstore, and she runs into Clint Howard, and then Clint Howard takes his fingers, and he just like rubs against her butt.
Get away from me! Leave me alone!
In comes the owner of the bookstore and she shoos Clint Howard away. And it's revealed Clint Howard is Ricky. Bookstore owner introduces herself to Kim and they have this really awkward long handshake. Kim buys a book about spontaneous combustion and Kim is offered some weird, nasty, loose, open air candy from a stranger and then she just eats it. But with Screaming Mad George on the makeup effects, I'm sure this is the least nastiest part. Bookstore owner, she invites Kim to this picnic and then she gives her a book about ISIS, the goddess, not the terrorists. And the bookstore owner just kisses Kim's head. So Kim like investigates the building that the woman jumped off of. Kim stands on the roof and she has like this dizzy spell and then Ricky shows up. He sticks his hand not in her butt but in a ventilation shaft. And then Ricky pulls out one of Screamin' Mad George's wicked creations, and he just holds it out to Kim's face. We cut to Kim at her house. She's seeing bugs everywhere. There's like weird women power symbols like in her spaghetti. She gets freaked out, she leaves, and she goes to Frank's family's house for Christmas. And immediately Kim just starts putting more weird shit in her mouth. The whole family's there, they're drinking eggnog, they're sharing stories. The dad is kind of anti-Semitic.
Kim's Jewish. Jesus.
And he's also like stereotypically sexist.
I think a woman's place is in the home, raising a family.
Kim is still mad that Hank didn't stick up for her at work or at her parents' house. So she just like takes off and she's screaming at him. And then Hank is like, hey, how about I give you my leather jacket? You can look as cool as I do. So she's back at home and she sees more faces like in her blinds. She did not clean up. So there's even more bugs all over her spaghetti that she left sitting out. And one of the cockroaches is like grown to like an abnormally large size. The giant cockroach is just hanging out on the wall. Kim gets freaked out and she leaves the apartment again without cleaning. Cut to the next day where Kim shows up at the picnic at the park. Bookstore lady, she introduces Kim to like these two other women. And then the one lady, she just starts talking about the burnt lady.
She wasn't strong enough.
And there's like an era of secrecy here where they kind of know who the woman was, but they won't say who the woman was. But Kim doesn't give a fuck. She just chugs the wine and then she just passes out. And with Kim now passed out, the bookstore lady just starts making out with Kim. Kim wakes up and she sees another face in the branches. Hank just shows up out of nowhere. He's like, hey, we gotta go back to work. Reggie Bannister decides to put Kim on the case of the mysterious woman who, all thanks to Hank. So Kim goes to the bookstore woman's house and they have this like exchange where I'm pretty sure Kim forgot her lines.
So you see, you have to be careful of what you want because you might just get it.
The bookstore woman offers Kim some coffee before she sprinkled some glitter in it. So Kim is like starting to get like a little woozy. The bookstore woman, she starts talking about how her daughter died and she blames her ex-husband. Kim spills the coffee. The bookstore woman just starts yelling at her.
Now look what you've done.
Bookstore woman offers Kim some more like loose open air dry candies. It turns into a cockroach and Kim just eats it anyway. Kim is starting to have stomach cramps and then we cut to more flashbacks of stuff we just saw. So Kim wakes up to the women from the picnic and they just strip her clothes off and they just like rub some shit on her face. And they put those like feminist circle dealies on her stomach. Clint Howard shows up and he's still holding that like worm creature and he like offers it to Kim. And the women start doing this spell.
Mother. Daughter.
And the movie just starts getting insane at this point. They cut a hole into her. That creature just kind of crawls into her stomach. Kim is freaking out. She vomits out a giant cockroach. They cut the bug in half. Ricky grabs one half of the bug and he pours the guts all over Kim's face. Passes out. She wakes up and the women are all like, oh, hey, are you okay? Rightfully so. Kim is freaked out. So she just takes the fuck off. She goes to Hank's house, wakes him up, and just starts freaking out on him. She grabs a big bottle of pills, starts swallowing them. Hank knocks him out of the way. Next thing you know, she's on top of Hank, just getting real dirty.
I want to fuck you while you're sleeping.
And while they're about to bone, Ricky just creepily shows up at their apartment, and then Ricky sits on the bed, turns on the TV, and I swear to God, he's watching Silent Night, Deadly Night 3.
Santa Claus killer!
Ricky pushes Hank out of the way. He grabs Kim and said, it's time to go. Hank busts Ricky in the head with a lamp and they just start wrestling through the apartment. Ricky grabs a knife and he just goes, don't fuck with me.
Don't fuck with me.
And Ricky just stabs the shit out of Hank. Kim is under the bed and watching this entire thing go on. Janice shows up at the apartment. She is not fazed at the murder that just happened. It's then revealed that she's part of this like witch cult. So she's like really cool with Ricky. Unties Kim and tells her that she needs to go with Ricky and finish what they started. And you remember the guy who's like karate chopping vending machines? Well, we're at his place, and Ricky is just shoving Kim into a meat locker. But inside the meat locker is the bookstore lady and her entire witch cult, and they sit Kim down on a chair, and it kind of turns into Eyes Wide Shut at this moment. And all the women just start oiling up Ricky's body. Because this is directed by Brian Yuzna, I think they're going to kind of do a shunting scene from Society. Kim is now like transformed into like this mermaid or like a bug or something. It's disgusting. She just starts crawling around. We see Hank's like body just hung up with chains. Really don't know what the fuck's going on at this point. Kim wakes up the next morning and she's just shedding all the skin. The vending machine karate guy shows up and he explains what happened.
You have been initiated. You go. Now.
Kim shows up at the bookstore and they explain what happened to the burning lady.
Yes. She was my daughter.
And they want Kim to join this like man-hating witch group. Bookstore woman wants Kim to kidnap Hank's younger brother so they can like chop off his dick or something. We cut to a cop who's investigating Hank's apartment. And unlike Kim, it turns out Janice cleaned the apartment off his Christmas party where Janice kisses Kim. And she says the same thing that the bookstore woman said earlier.
Now, you have to bring us the boy.
Kim gets the fuck out of there. And then Ricky is chasing Kim into this random motel. And at the motel, there's just lesbian porn on the TV. And the TV cuts to the bookstore woman. She says, like, bring me the boy. I want to chop off his dick. Kim just grabs her stomach in pain. She just runs to the shower. She turns it on and she just busts into flames. Ricky comes in. He turns off the shower. He grabs Kim before she can fully engulf in flames. Ricky takes Kim to Hank's family's house. Boy answers the door to Kim and then she just does this terrible lie to get him out.
Hank's not with you, is he?
Sure he is. He's out in the car. Do you want to come out and talk to him?
I knew it.
So Kim lured this little boy to the van and it turns out Hank is not there.
Where is he? He'll be right back. So, what do you want for Christmas?
I want my brother and I don't want to be fucking kidnapped. Ricky busts into the parents' house. He attacks the mom with like some tape, I think. Ricky attacks the dad and strangles him with Christmas lights. This sets the tree on fire and then Ricky gets the fuck out of the flaming house. They show up to the top of the roof where the rest of the coven are waiting. They have the little boy tied up. They rip open his shirt. Kim is told that she needs to be the one to kill the little boy. More creepy crawly bugs show up. But instead of killing the boy, she stabs the bookstore lady. The little boy is free and he just takes off. Watching this, Ricky has a change of heart and he decides he's going to be the one to save Kim.
No, man. Don't hurt her.
But this leads to Ricky getting stabbed in the stomach. Ricky falls to the ground. He gets eaten by bug. The bookstore lady, she's just cutting promos on Kim. Kim's hands get all weird again. They bust into flames. And then Kim stabs the bookstore lady with her like flaming weird dagger hand. And this causes the bookstore lady to just burst into flames. Falls off the roof, falling into the exact same spot as a woman from the beginning of the movie. Kim stares at the rest of the coven like, come at me, bitch. So they decide, we're good, and then they just leave. So then Kim grabs the little boy, says, your brother's dead, your mom's dead, your dad's dead. I kidnapped you, brought you to this rooftop, was about to kill you. You saw a man get eaten by bugs. You saw my hands get mutated, and this lady bust into flames and fall off the top of a building. But everything's gonna be okay. Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, The Initiation. Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy, starring Mickey Rooney, special effects by Screaming Mad George. Written by Martin Kit Rosser and Brian Yuzin, and directed by Martin Kit Rosser. So we open to this suburban house on Christmas Eve. This little boy, Derek, he hears the doorbell ring, so he goes to check it out. He finds a present waiting, and it says do not open till Christmas, but Derek says, fuck it, I'm gonna rip this open right now. And before we can see what the present is, Derek's super hairy dad just grabs him and just starts screaming at him.
How many times do I have to tell you not to open the front door by yourself?
Oh, and there was a sex scene between Derek's parents. And Derek's dad was wearing the fucking gold chain. So Derek goes back to bed. The dad, he starts to investigate what that present was. And he pulls it out and it's like, I think a Pokeball. But it turns out it's a Santa ball. And the dad's thinking like, I'm stealing this from Derek. But the Santa head on the toy starts turning around and it just gets mad. Sprouts arms and legs and wraps itself around Derek's dad. And Derek's dad is choking on Santa's ball. So the dad is fumbling around in slow motion. Meanwhile, Derek is watching this entire thing. Derek's dad dies by falling on a fireplace poker. The mom wakes up, she comes downstairs, and she just starts screaming. So we cut to 2 weeks later where mom and Derek are having breakfast together, and Derek won't touch his food. Alright, now he's touching his food. One of the mom's friends comes in. She also brings her son. Also, the mom's friend was the one chick from part 4, so I don't know if it's supposed to be the same character or not. So Derek watches a commercial of the toy that killed his dad. So the mom comes in to comfort him. Meanwhile, there's this guy across the street who's just creepily watching them. So to comfort Derek, mom takes Derek to a toy store I thought was going to be a pedophile joke. It's called Pedo Toys. And then we see Mickey Rooney, who's Mr. Pedo. It's not a pedophile joke at all. It just happens to be his name. So Mickey Rooney introduces himself as Joe and his son Pino. Wait. Joe Pedo? Geppetto? Now I get it. But Pino creeps everybody out and Joe sends him away to go to hang out in a basement somewhere. So Joe is trying to cheer up Derek. He's showing him all these fun toys. The window stalker from earlier shows up, and he starts like watching them from like behind the shelves. And speaking of creepy, here comes Pino with a return of a weird bug toy. Mom's like, we're good on this creepy bug toy. And Joe just snaps. And he just starts laying into Pino.
I'd rather have a son like that!
And then Pino bumps into the creepy window dude. The creepy window guy just buys a bunch of toys, including the Larry the Larva toy that Pino tried to push on Derek. He pulls out his wallet and he drops a newspaper clipping. And it turns out it's an article about Derek's dad's death. Then we're at the creepy window guy's apartment, and apparently he's getting evicted. And he has no money, but he does have that Larry the Larva toy. So he uses that to pay rent. So the landlord's driving home and he's just like scatting to himself. The Larry the Larva toy comes to life. He's just squirming through the car. The landlord is like, oh hey, this larva toy is pretty cool. So the Larry the Larva toy develops electric powers and it jumps in the landlord's mouth, shocks him, and the landlord is just weaving and wobbling all over the road. So eventually the landlord dies, but his eyes get sucked into his head. This is why I love Screaming Mad George. And then it gets better because the car just careens off the side of the road and explodes. So the stranger breaks into the toy store and he just starts looking around. He eventually finds a photo of Joe when he was younger, and it's revealed that the photo is like decades old, but Pino is still the same age. So the next day, Mom and Derek go to the mall, where it turns out the stranger is working as a mall Santa, and he works with Clint Howard?
Ho, ho, ho!
Is Clint Howard supposed to be Ricky again? But anyway, the stranger is sitting on Santa's throne, when it's now Derek's turn to sit on Santa's lap. Derek refuses to say anything, but the stranger gets super weird and he just has a death grip on Derek.
No, don't go!
But the stranger's more like, blasted! Foiled again! Pino, who's breaking into Derek and his mom's house. So Pino starts fondling the wedding photo of the mom, and then he passes by the Santa toy that killed Derek's dad. Derek and the mom come home, and then Pino busts out of the closet and scares the shit out of the mom and Derek, and then Pino just takes off and gets out of the house. So she goes to the toy store to yell at Joe, and she's like, yo, your creepy ass son broke into my house. Like, yeah, we used to live there. We couldn't afford the mortgage, so we moved into the toy store. And then the mom is like, yeah, that's sad, but keep your creepy son away from my creepy son. Joe then turns back into pissed off Mickey Rooney. And then he finds Pino and he just slaps the shit out of him.
You bastard! I'm sorry, Father!
Joe bashes Pino in the head with a wine bottle, where the mom is giving Derek a present, and then Derek is just like, no, I don't want it. The mom lets her friend in, and then we get confirmation that that is Kim from part 4.
I mean, you would not believe the things that I've been through. Hardly believe them myself.
But Derek takes the present outside and throws it in the trash. But the boy from earlier is just standing on a tree, but the boy is not above digging through trash. So he opens up the present and inside is roller skates. And if you're thinking, when does this movie take place? It's the 90s. So then the rollerblades shoot sparks and fire out of the back, and it sends the kid out of control up and down the street, and this boy gets hit by a car. You think he's dead, but he's not. Instead, we cut to a hospital where the boy is like comically wrapped up in bandages like a mummy, but the mom left Derek at home. Derek opens the door to the stranger, and then the stranger starts to give Derek more like weird presents.
Very special toy for a very special boy.
Dude, that is so fucking creepy. The babysitter shows up and she scares the stranger away. The mom who's leaving work, and the stranger shows up and she scares the mom. The mom takes off. The stranger is hot on her tail. Mom doesn't get away, instead gets captured by the stranger. And one of 3 things happen. Is it A, she fights him off and stabs him in the throat. B, the stranger strangles mom. Or C, they start making out. If you said C, you are correct. It's revealed that the stranger and the mom were like a couple, and it's revealed that the stranger is Derek's real dad. And the mom left the stranger because she was pregnant and she didn't want him to know.
And I needed security for that, and you couldn't give it to me, and Tom could.
Then they just kind of go back and forth and just start making out again. The babysitter puts Derek to bed, and then she invites her boyfriend over, and they just start making out on Derek's bed, and the babysitter has like the shiniest panties ever. Derek can hear them from the room he's in. And then we get the sex scene where it's intercut between mom and the stranger, the babysitter and her boyfriend. But while all that's going on, Joe Petto is now dressed as Santa Claus, and he broke into their house. He empties out a sack of toys behind the babysitter and her boyfriend. The babysitter notices it and she gets freaked out, but her boyfriend doesn't care. The best part is that they're having sex while there's like a severed arm toy on the bed. And the severed arm toy comes to life and starts like fingering the boyfriend's butt.
Put it back on.
And it also is like fondling them too. But then the hand just starts strangling the boyfriend. A snake toy ties up the babysitter's hand. Derek comes in to tell them, hey, can you quiet it down? Meanwhile, Joe comes in with a sack and he abducts them. So the babysitter and her boyfriend try to break free. Then they get attacked by the toys. The babysitter gets shot with a tank toy. And then it kind of turns into like a demented Action League Now sequence. And there's like this plane toy that comes in and it stabs the boyfriend. And it's revealed that Joe killed a bunch of kids in the past.
They arrested him one Christmas for booby-trapping toys. He'd rig them with lethal devices, and then he sent them to kids all around town.
So Joe's plan is that...
Went off the deep end when his wife was killed in a car accident. She was pregnant at the time.
Oh my God.
I guess he felt if he couldn't have a happy family, nobody else would.
The mom and the stranger arrive back at their house just in time for the babysitter to fall onto the car. And the mom just keeps repeating herself.
Max dead! Max dead! Where's Derek? Where's Derek?
The babysitter tells the mom that Joe showed up and kidnapped Derek. The mom gets in the car and takes off to the toy store. Meanwhile, the stranger is holding this bloody teenager when in comes Kim. And the stranger's like, here, you have the bloody teenager, and then he just takes off. The mom breaks into the toy store, and she sees where Joe and Pino are living. She finds pictures of herself. There's like severed heads everywhere. The stranger shows up. He breaks into the toy store. The airplane is coming right at the stranger. He grabs a teddy bear and then whaps it away. The stranger opens the door, and he finds Joe with the super soaker, and he's just spraying him in the eye. Mom hears what's going on, so she grabs a bloody knife, and she goes downstairs. She knocks over a couple of mannequins, and it turns out it's not a mannequin. That's Joe Petto's dead body. Don't know how he died, but he just has a black eye. She turns around and runs right into Joe. But this time, he's alive.
Pretty mommy.
Then it's revealed that this Joe Petto is a robot. What the fuck? And this robot has actually been Pino this entire time. And if you're wondering how does this happen, don't worry, Pino explains everything.
It's very simple. All you need is a little of that, and a little of that, and a little of that.
And then Pino strips off all of his clothes, and we find out that Pino doesn't have a Pino. And then naked Pino grabs the mom, and he's trying to have sex with her.
I can be your son now. I can. You don't need Derek. I love you, Mommy. I love you. I love you.
What the fuck? So the mom stabs Pino in the head with a screwdriver, and then Pino just starts short-circuiting out.
He wasn't a real boy. I wasn't good enough.
He eventually heals back up, he grabs a knife, and he's on the hunt for Derek. He jumps on the back of Pino, and he just starts like putting him in a rear naked chokehold. The stranger makes his return with an axe. He chops off Pino's arm. With his remaining arm, Pino grabs the stranger and chucks him across the room. Right as Pino is about to kill the stranger, the mom returns with an axe and she chops Pino in half. So the family now reunites, and Derek has his first line of dialogue.
Who is he?
Pino comes back to life, grabs the mom's foot. Mom just puts a big final curb stomp onto Pino's head, killing him. And then we focus on a mannequin that shoots electric out of its eyes. Silent Night, Deadly Night 5. The toy. Silent Night. The remake, starring Malcolm McDowell. Written by Jason Rothwell and directed by Stephen C. Miller. So we open up to a guy dressing up as Santa, and he's like assembling this creepy Santa mask. Woman tied up on the floor. So the Santa goes down to the basement, and there's another dude tied to a chair with like Christmas lights wrapped around his head. Santa grabs his trusty axe, and he starts taunting the dude. But rather than killing him with the axe, instead he just electrocutes him. The the dude that got electrocuted was the deputy. So it's the next morning. Malcolm McDowell calls Aubrey and tells her she's the new deputy. Aubrey's not sure if she wants to take it or not.
Get off your sorry ass.
Town hall's expecting a record number of Santas.
It's gonna be a real clusterfuck.
This is her first Christmas after her husband died, but she ends up doing it anyway. Aubrey's dad was a cop, and she tells him that she's now the deputy. He's super excited that the old guy died. And apparently this small town is like really into Santa because there's like tons of Santas running around the neighborhood. And then we cut to this lady who's trying to take her pills, and then her daughter just smacks it out of her hand. The little girl is kind of a bitch.
Those are Mommy's heart pills. I need those.
You need to take me to the mall.
So the little girl opens the door to Santa standing there.
Great Salvation fucking Army.
So Santa opens up his sack, and instead of giving her a present, he gives her a cattle prod to the stomach, and then Santa stabs her with a fire poker. Malcolm McDowell comes over and he investigates the murder, and he's like, yeah, that's a dead kid. Aubrey is talking to the receptionist, like, why didn't the guy come into work today? Oh, and it's not revealed that the deputy from the beginning of the movie died.
Rumors there's a girl.
There's this other cop shows up, and he has like a really boogery nose. Aubrey goes to the mall, and then there's another Santa who's just giving bad advice to kids.
Well, to be honest, Timmy, I don't think you deserve anything this year.
Aubrey talks to that bad Santa, and then she gets called away. Aubrey's called to a house that has a really weird smell to it. Then we get to this pointless scene where nothing happens. It's pretty much just a callback to the first movie. But anyway, this guy, he's stealing money from his catatonic grandpa.
You better watch out, boy. Christmas Eve is the scariest damn night of the year.
So Aubrey gets to the house with the bad smell. She goes into the basement and she comes across the deputy that got electrocuted in the beginning of the movie. And she immediately just contaminates the area. She calls it in. She goes upstairs. She hears a cell phone ringing. And this room is just covered in blood. The phone is in a drawer with a hand still holding onto it. We see chopped up body parts all over the room, and it's the woman that was tied up in the beginning of the movie. And it turns out the woman that was tied up was having an affair with the deputy that got electrocuted. Malcolm McDowell shows up at that house. He's like, I want to be the star of this movie.
So don't go playing the hero. That's my job.
And it's revealed that since it's such a small town that they closed it all off and they're not getting any outside help at all. And then Malcolm McDowell shows off that he's a fucking badass.
This sick fuck is gonna wish he never set foot in my town.
And then we cut to a motel where softcore porn is being shot. There's a brunette model, a blonde model, and just tons of cocaine. And it turns out that the blonde one is the mayor's daughter. Then the killer Santa shows up, immediately kills this woman with a scythe. The model that was on the bed takes off to the bathroom. The cameraman, he gets a scythe through the dick. Santa gets shot. The naked girl busts out through a window and she starts climbing on the side of the building. Santa scares her and she falls onto a big pile of trash, but she still survives. I guess you could say, good thing for her, it's garbage day. You get it? Because it's a callback to the second movie. Anyway, she takes off and Santa is chasing her. He catches up to her and he takes a chainsaw and hacks off her leg. He grabs the naked woman and shoves her into a wood chipper. Malcolm McDowell goes to the mom's house of that bitch little girl. Aubrey and the other cop with the runny nose, they go to the porn shoot.
Porn, drugs. When did this town become so sleazy?
Aubrey finds a video camera that's been recording the entire time. They're going through the footage and they all watch the girl get naked. And then Santa does like a Five Nights at Freddy's. The mayor's daughter is with a choir of like other pretty ladies and they're doing like performance for the town. The priest shows up. He's kind of pervy.
Spread some joy to the world.
Then Santa shows up and he just slices the priest's fingers off. And then Santa just stabs the shit out of the priest. Like, kind of a lot. Santa turns to the old woman and she promises, I won't say a word. Santa lets her live and then he leaves. Aubrey finds this other Santa at a bar. It's revealed that the bar Santa lives at the porn shoot motel. The bar Santa starts going into a backstory and I kind of thought it'd be funny if they did a backstory of the first movie. But it's not, it's all new footage. So the backstory is this guy named Ronald Jones. His wife was cheating on him, so he decides he's going to kill everybody who's naughty, and he pulls out a flamethrower and just starts lighting people on fire.
And he said about killing them that was naughty.
Aubrey then calls a phone number in the phone she found at the porn shoot motel, and the call happens to go to the bar Santa. The bar Santa freaks out and he takes off. She chases after him. They go to the back alley, and then bar Santa comes in and he punches Aubrey in the face. Pulls out a knife. He's gonna stab the shit out of her, but luckily Malcolm McDowell shows up and scares him away. Aubrey is breaking down at this moment. She calls her dad, who's dressed up as Santa, and she's like, I don't know if I can do this at this point. And the dad reassures her, and he's like, you are a damn good cop.
This isn't the first time a Bradamore had to bring down a bad Santa.
Malcolm McDowell is like certain that Bar Santa is the evil Santa.
It's double S.
Is it?
Carson, it's double S.
Double S. Double screwed.
Even though he attacked her, Aubrey still thinks it's another Santa. And she starts to think that the bad Santa is Donald Logue. Aubrey and Malcolm McDowell, they go to Donald Logue's trailer and they bust in, they're looking through. But it turns out Killer Santa arrives at the mayor's house. The mayor is outside smoking a cigarette. He runs into his daughter and her boyfriend, and they just start getting naked in front of him. They disappear to have sex, leaving the mayor by himself. The mayor gets a call from Malcolm McDowell, but mid-conversation, Santa comes up and starts strangling the mayor with Christmas lights. So Malcolm McDowell confuses the mayor struggling for his life as bad reception, so he just hangs up the phone, and the mayor's daughter and her boyfriend are about to have sex, and they're making like these terrible Christmas sex puns.
It looks like Santa's gonna come early this year.
And behind the door is Killer Santa. The mayor's daughter, she goes to take off. Santa throws an axe, cuts her Achilles tendon, and doing an amazing callback to Linnea Quigley's death, Santa picks up the mayor's daughter and stabs her with antlers. Though we don't see her boobs, it's an amazing kill. The boyfriend returns, and then Santa just starts bashing him in the face with the axe. The police show up at the town's Santa parade, and there's like suspects everywhere. Aubrey sees one Santa in particular, and she's like, I think that's our guy. Turns out it's Donald Logue, and she just starts taking off after him. Malcolm McDowell is the one that puts him out by just hitting him in the head with a nightstick. They take Donald Logue, they put him in prison. Then he asks for his favorite Christmas dessert.
Where's my figgy pudding?
But Aubrey's like, wait a minute, I don't think he's the killer Santa. So Aubrey goes back to the porn motel, and she comes across that bar Santa. She has her gun out, he has his gun out. So she calls his bluff, and then she fires a gun, kills him. Aubrey sees a gift sitting on the counter, and she starts having flashbacks of the similar gifts at the other murders. And she also remembers seeing one at home with her dad. So she gets in a car and books it home. Turns out that there's another one of those presents at the police station, and Malcolm McDowell, he opens one. The runny nose cop shows up. Malcolm McDowell tells him to take out the garbage.
What is this? Garbage day?
Peers into a car and he gets an axe to the face. Dead. The lights get cut off at the police station. Killer Santa shows up, lighting the way with a fucking flamethrower, and he just lights Malcolm McDowell on fire. Aubrey arrives at home and she sees her dad with his back to her. And sure enough, it's revealed that her dad is dead. Aubrey breaks down. She finds her mother tied up in a closet. She unties her and she promises her mom that she's going to get revenge for the death of her father. The receptionist takes off for her life. Killer Santa is following. He comes across Donald Logue, and Donald Logue starts cutting a promo on Killer Santa.
Fuck you. Fuck Christmas. And fuck your plastic face. Not nice.
Killer Santa gets Donald Logue on the ground. He puts on brass knuckles and he just beats the shit out of him. Aubrey arrives at the police station. Everything is just wet. Killer Santa pops out and they get into an axe battle. Aubrey gets shoved through some glass, grabs the flamethrower, and she lights the Killer Santa on fire. Aubrey leaves the Santa burning to death as she goes to rescue the receptionist. They make it outside and they watch the police station fully engulfed in flame. Cut to a dude in a truck where half his face is burnt. Flips open the visor and he sees like an old family photo, and then it's revealed that the Killer Santa was Ronald Jones Jr., the son of the Santa from the flashback that lit everybody on fire. Ronald Jones lit his wife on fire, and it turns out Aubrey's dad was the one that shot Ronald Jones Sr., which caused his flamethrower to explode and just burn Ronald Jones to death. And Ronald Jones Jr., as a little boy, was watching his father burn his mother, Aubrey's dad shooting his father, and having him explode into flames, which led him to become the Murder Santa. Silent Night, the remake. Dude, these movies are insane and so much fun. Despite all of my Halloween content, I actually really do love Christmas. And to those who celebrate, I wish you all a Merry Christmas. Shout out to all the Mark MacKays out there. This is going to be my last video of the year, and I want to thank each and every single one of you for subscribing and watching my videos. It really means the world to me that you took the time to watch my videos and subscribe to my channel. And you know what would really mean the world to me? Is if Charles Band gave me a Puppet Master movie. What do you say, Charles Band? I'm here. Ah!